Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. You are watching Nubs Collection, a YouTube series dedicated to the cataloging and review of every game in my physical games collection. I am your host, Victory Nub. Today we are going to be playing a game called Hang On and Safari Hunt, released on September of 1986, in September of 1986, I guess I should say. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to look at one of the two games in this collection. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Hang On. The reason we're only looking at the one is that Safari Hunt requires a light phaser, or I think it was called the Sega Light Phase or something like that. And unfortunately, I don't have a working one, which is going to complicate matters if you're trying to play a game that requires the little gun weapon. So unfortunately, it's just going to be Hang On today. This is going to be one of those episodes that's going to be very challenging to make entertaining, simply because it's a very threadbare experience. Basically, you're just driving a bike until you run out of time on the clock. And it's not the most exciting environments that they provide in the game, so it's going to be a little bit boring. Unfortunately, one of the challenges of playing a game or running a series based on playing all the physical games in your collection is there's going to be some duds. And today is a perfect example of that. But it'll give me an opportunity to kind of go over a good synopsis of what the Nubs Collection series is going to be about, if I could stop running into other bikes. So what is Nubs Collection going to be? Basically, I have about 393 physical games in my collection as of last count. And just had an idea one day that, a lot of these games I haven't played in years, and I would like to experience those games again. In some cases, it'll be like for the first time. Not just like for the first time, but in some cases, I literally bought the game and never actually played it. So it'll be a good chance to look at some of those games, and also just to relive some of the memories that I associated with those games, and to share them with, whatever willing audience wants to listen. What the series will not be is a review of digital releases. I think there is something to be said about a tangible connection that can be drawn between games that you physically own versus something that you just download onto a hard drive or onto your computer. So unfortunately, that does mean that computer games, for the most part, are going to be disqualified. While I do have a couple of games that I really enjoyed on computer, I don't think the series is going to be quite as fun if I'm trying to replay games that I have to run through backwards compatibility modes on my PC, as well as some other technical difficulties. For example, I really liked Fallout 1 and 2, and I would love to play them, but unfortunately I don't think either of those games actually functions in Windows 10, at least not the last time I tried either of them. So that would disqualify PC games from the collection. In addition, I will do my best to try to include handheld games in the process of reviewing and playing old games. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to find a working solution for some of them. The DS and the 3DS, I'm not sure if there even is a way to do it without emulation. And as I think I mentioned in the very first video of Nubs Collection for Ghost House, all of the games that we're going to be playing, to the best of my ability, we are going to be playing on the original hardware that I have. Because I never got rid of any of the consoles that I had, with the single exception being one of the old Atari systems that we used to have when I was a small child. Don't know why we ever got rid of it. Don't know if we're really losing out on much, because I don't know if a YouTube review series based entirely on Atari games would be much fun. You'd probably play through about 5 minutes of the video and go, yeah, I've gotten a good taste of what this is. I don't ever need to see this again. So yeah, we will do the best that we can here to review and play handheld games and consoles, but I don't know if that's going to be something that we'll be able to do feasibly. Additionally, there are going to be a very small number of games, incredibly small, that I used to own and no longer have in my possession. Either I gave them away as gifts or just left them to one of my nephews. I'll do what I can to try to reacquire some of those games. Some of them are going to be a little bit difficult to come across, but we will try to recover them and play them in review. And finally, this series is limited to games that I have an actual tangible connection to. So as much as I appreciate some of my friends offering games to me to review, I don't think it's going to be quite the same experience if I'm trying to play games that I've never actually touched before and absolutely do not own on my own. So we'll be avoiding doing that. This is meant to be a limited series. I don't intend to play hundreds of thousands of games for the rest of my life. I think that would probably make the series probably pretty boring by the end, because it would be like me just playing a game I've never touched before and offering my thoughts. And there are plenty of YouTube series on that, and I'm trying to do something a little bit more personal. So what can we expect in the future of Nubs Collection? Well, I can go ahead and tell you what consoles that I have in my possession, and that'll kind of give you a clue as to where some of the series is going to go. Obviously, we're playing Sega Master System today. This is the very first system that I remember playing games on. There are a couple of games on the Atari that I have the most vague of recollections of, but I wouldn't be able to offer any tangible thoughts as far as my experiences playing those games. What we're going to do is go in the order of the consoles as I purchased them, and then as we play games, since I never thought or even attempted to try to catalog when I bought or received any of those games, we're going to go in order of release date. While we could do alphabetical order to simplify the process, it would probably make for kind of a boring and predictable series, because if it's a game that has multiple sequels, you would know what was going to come next in most cases. If I bought one, I probably bought the sequels. So while I don't think it's a spoiler to tell anyone that we are definitely going to have the Super Mario games in this series, I'm going to do the games by release date, and I think there is going to be a surprise in that that maybe some people didn't know about or expect. But we will look at the Super Mario games eventually. After Sega Master System, we'll go to the Nintendo Entertainment System. From there, the next system that I owned was the Super Nintendo. After that, we will look at the Nintendo 64. Yes, I was a Nintendo fanboy when I was a young kid. That is just the way it went. After that, I did get a PlayStation 1, then a PlayStation 2. I think after that I got PlayStation... Oh, excuse me, I got a GameCube. Didn't have very many games for that one. Then I got a PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360, a Nintendo Wii, which I had very few games for. And then finally, I think I have a handful of physical games for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And that would probably be the stopping point because, well, I do have a few cards for the Nintendo Switch as well, and we might look at those as well. But again, that's where the series is probably going to peter out, because most of the games that I buy or own anymore are digital. That is kind of the way of the world that we live in now, is everything is going digital, and it's probably for the best, because swapping games in and out, if you get bored with one and want to play another, can be a little bit tedious if the games aren't sitting directly next to the console and the TV that you're playing on. So that would be not the most entertaining series if I did games for Nintendo Switch, and I have I think I have Super Mario 3D All-Stars and what was the other one? Collection of Mana. It was the original release versions of Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy Adventure, and Trials of Mana. Those are the only two I own physical, and I don't know if I was planning to get any other physical copies of games for that system. I did it only because I didn't have a larger memory card for the system at that time, but that is kind of a roadmap for where the series is going to go. In addition to the normal episodes that are going to be kind of like this, where I'm just playing through a game for a couple of minutes to get a taste of what the experience is like and give my thoughts on the pros and cons. I will also be doing some long plays. I think the very first one that we will be looking at as a full playthrough is actually on the Sega Master System. I won't give it away right now because I think the element of surprise would benefit this series, not knowing exactly which games I want to look at each week in addition to the games that I plan on doing as a long play. But there is definitely one that I think time-wise would not be the most difficult or lengthy game to play through, and each system I think will probably have at least one, if not more, games that we'll try to do that for. And they will act as kind of a standalone series from the regular weekly episodes, I think, just to keep things moving. If I do a game every week, this series would probably run for about 8 years from what I did math-wise on this. But long plays would probably slow it down considerably, and I just want to be able to play those games even if it means that some of them are going to run 7 or 8 weeks. Hopefully the one that we're going to be looking at for the Sega Master System is not going to be a 7 or 8 week slog. Last time I played it, I remember it playing pretty quickly, but it should be a fairly fun experience. Especially if we kind of relive the original version of that game. This is kind of a spoiler. As well as possibly take a brief look at the re-release that came out a few years ago. And there was a re-release for that game. Oh boy, I can't seem to stay on the road. Like I know what I'm doing wrong. I need to downshift when I go into the hard turns. But I'm lazy. No! Oh! Get it! Oh, right at the goal line. Okay, so as much fun as I'm sure it is to watch me fail miserably at completing a single course of Hang On, because I think they're actually different tracks that you run, and I've only been running the first one. I think that is a good spot to end this particular episode. As exciting as I'm sure the instruction manual description of this game is, I think I'll spare you the agony of watching this video any longer than you have to. The good, bad, and ugly of this game. The good, the effect of scrolling in 3D in this game does look fairly good. I can't complain about that. The bad is that the environment is fairly boring. A lot of just green or yellow for the sand. And as far as the ugly, there's no audio. Or no music, I should say. It's just engine sounds and the weird audio that plays whenever you pass another bike, which is kind of boring. You hear the music here on the main menu, but that's it. That kind of stinks, so not great. On a rating scale of 1 to 5 stars, I would give this a 1. Not a very fun experience. And even if I was giving the game my full attention instead of trying to describe what the Nubs Collection YouTube series is going to be about, I don't think I would have done much better. So, yeah, 1 star out of 5. Would not recommend anyone go out of their way to pick up this game unless they wanted to try Safari Hunt. And again, unfortunately, the light phaser does not work on LCD screens, and I am using an LCD television to play this game. So even if I did have a working one, I don't think it would be even a feasible option or a viable option because the gun just wouldn't work on this television. But that is the end of this week's episode of Nubs Collection, and I will see you next time.